using to build this program. Let's start in Lagos. That is the world of technology that we now have. So, ladies and gentlemen, my dear brothers and sisters, permit me to introduce to you and to this program our guest speaker for today. The name is Moshood Latunde Ladapo. Dr. Ladapo Oladapo holds his first degree and, of course, a BSc and MSc from Nigeria's premier university, the University of Ibadan, where he studied agricultural economics. And thereafter, proceeded to the University of Agriculture in Abeokuta for his PhD with specialization in agribusiness. So years ago, decades ago, this brilliant scholar obtained his PhD. But that wasn't enough for him. He came over to the United Kingdom and proceeded to the University of Huddersfield, where he studied again, researched, a lot of hard work, and then got a DBA, the Doctorate in Business Administration, with specialization in strategic management. He's a born teacher. God taught him how to teach. But because he wanted a certificate that human beings like you and I can see, he went to the University of Huddersfield and took a postgraduate diploma in education. He is a fellow of the Chartered Management Institute United Kingdom, a fellow of the Higher Education Academy United Kingdom, and he currently lectures as a senior lecturer at the Global Banking School of the University of Suffolk program. My dear brothers and sisters, it's my pleasure to welcome to the house and invite to present his paper our brother Moshood Oladapo. Moshood, Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma anta rabbi. La ilaha illa anta alayka tawakkaltu. Wa anta rabbul arshil azim. Ma sha Allahu kana wa man lam yasha lam yakun wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa bil aliyyil azim. Ahlamu anna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir wa anna Allah qad a'ta bi kulli shay'in ilma. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min sharri nafsi wa min sharri kulli da'batin anta ahidhu binasiyatiha. Inna rabbi ala siratin mustaqim. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufri wal fakri wa min adhab al-qabr. Wa a'udhu bika min al-hajz wal kasal wa a'udhu bika min al-jubni wa a'udhu bika min al-galabat al-daini wa qahar rijal. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. My brothers and sisters, we have 30 minutes to go through this, and I will try very hard to make it 30 minutes because it's a very big, broad topic. However, in case it happens, we don't expect that. In case there is problem with the internet, in case, just stay on. I'll try and get reconnected just for us to know this. Well, I think it will hardly happen. Today's topic, and like you will expect a teacher to do, I will just want us to look at the overview so that at the end of the lecture today, we know exactly if we have achieved our learning outcome or not. And so today we're going to define what crisis is. Crisis management and its phases. We're going to look at role of leader. We're going to discuss role of followers, and then we link it together. Crisis management from the primary sources of Sharia. And this is how this is the structure of our discussion for today. Having said that, the roles of leaders and followers during crisis, we have three keywords here. The first one is leaders, the second one, followers, and the last one is crisis management. And so if we are able to define these three keywords, sincerely, we'll be able to understand what the topic is really trying to get out for us. Now, coming to crisis, we start from crisis. How do we define crisis? It's something that is unpalatable, a time of intense difficulty, or when you are perceiving a danger or a danger is already on ground. So there are two things: a time of intense difficulty, decision must be made. Crisis can also be a turning point of a disease, indicating recovery or death, just like we have at the moment, COVID-19. If we go a bit into literature, I don't want to make us academician, but then because the topic is tailored towards a bit of academics, I will be going through a bit of literature. And according to Nabil and Adnan, 2013, they looked at crisis and they said, oh, crisis is not confined to a single sector. It can happen anywhere. It can extend to the whole system. We can have crises at home. We can have crises in our organization. We can have crises in our society. We can even have a national crisis or international crisis. And so Sharia, Shakra, 1995, defined it as an overall level of uncertainty. We don't want to go into a theory of uncertainty and probability now. And so that is just what they said about crisis. There are a lot of people talking about crisis, explaining to us what crisis is. Again, crisis from Genesis, we've always had crisis. And we'll go a little bit into our religion, Islam, in the Holy Quran. If we go into the Genesis, the comprehensive crisis that occurred in the history of creation, according to the Holy Quran in the Islamic perspective. And we can see this one said, when Almighty Allah says, look, I'm going to bring somebody onto this earth who will be my representative. And the angels were saying, who? Almighty Allah, you know what we do not know, but then let us look at it very well. So if you look at that, that is a bit of what we can term as crisis looming. Again, everybody, all angels were told, come and prostrate, do this to Adam. And Iblis said, no, I was made of this, he was made of that. And so what do you think? That is the genesis of crisis. Again, even then, Adam said, Iblis failed to prostrate. He said, no, I'm not going to do that. Rather, I will be a lone ranger. And so that's slow reaction coming up, or it can be a sudden one that you don't really expect. It will just come up. Look at the situation of the class. Think, what kind of action do we take? Are we going to take a reactive or proactive? And so crisis can be creeping, it can be slow burn crisis, it can be sudden crisis. Again, it then means that organization must plan for crisis. Any organization that is not planning for crisis is planning to have crisis and be reactive if it has happened. And so we need to really think about planning and as well as management. So the inevitable, whether we like it or not, crisis will always come up. And so organization, we just have to plan for that. As an Islamic organization, as the head of the family, as a member of a society, it is inevitable to have crisis at one time or the other. And so if you have not have what we call a proactive plan, then you are planning to have a crisis. We can forecast crisis. You can always forecast crisis. And this is, ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen to you? Then you are forecasting it. What is the worst scenario apart from death that you think can happen to you? If you are able to answer that, that's a rhetorical question. You should be able to answer that question as an individual and as an organization. And so if you are able to do that, then you are forecasting crisis. We should be able to forecast crisis as Muslims as well, because it will always come. Crisis management is the act of avoiding trouble. So that is crisis on its own. Now we're looking at how do you manage crisis? Because that one is planning. But if your planning has failed, then we'll be looking at management. And so you look at crisis management. The act of avoiding trouble when you can, or putting an appropriate action when you cannot, is what management is all about. Is what management is all about. The act of avoiding trouble when you can, or putting an appropriate action when you cannot. So that is both proactive and reactive. Management entails process of organization dealing with a major event that threatens to harm the organization. Anything that can harm the organization, management will always plan ahead. That is proactive as well. Finally, previous loss when possible and minimizing loss is not. When you want to minimize your loss, then you are managing the crisis. Or no, it's not, it's prevent loss, please. When you want to prevent your loss, you either prevent or you minimize. So that is what crisis management is all about. So you have to think, am I planning or am I managing crisis? In managing crisis, we have different stages. You need to think about, is the crisis coming up? How do I detect the crisis coming up? How do I prepare for it? So we have three phases: the pre, the main crisis stage, and the post-crisis stage. For example, what we find ourselves, the whole world, the global, is that everybody is having pandemic, and that is COVID-19. And so we have the pre-phase. Have we actually predicted this? Or did we expect something of this nature coming up? Detection, that is the first stage. Then we need to prepare for it and prevent. The second stage is the main crisis that has really happened, what we have found ourselves in at the moment. And then we have the post-crisis, which is you either contain it or it damages the whole situation. And then we have the recovery stage. And then finally, what we call the learning from the crisis, the reflection. And so all these are the phases of crisis management. We'll still come back to this. It's just for us to know that these are the three main phases that one will expect. Understood that. The next thing we want to look at is, leadership is the inspiration and mobilization of others to undertake a joint action in pursuit of a common goal. The key word here is a common goal. We all have the same interests. So we have a central vision. I want to believe there's a vision for NOSFAT. We all have a central vision. What is our goal? Are we pursuing this goal? And so there must be alignment of individuals towards a central goal. And that is what leadership is all about. Is the inspiration and mobilization, everybody coming together, aligning together. And that is what Crosby and Bryson says about leadership. It is the art of guiding others to achieve an outcome. So the main thing is the outcome. We want to achieve an outcome that would not have happened. Without leadership, that outcome wouldn't have happened. So it is the role of the leadership that really pull the resources together to make sure that we achieve that outcome. So it's the art of guiding others to achieve an outcome that would not have happened ordinarily. Again, leadership involves influence among leaders and followers. They intend to have real changes and outcomes that reflect their shared purposes. So there must be a common shared purpose for us to achieve that central outcome. And that is what leadership entails. If for any reason, if we have to say what's the main difference between leadership and the management, the key word that comes in first is the influence. Leaders can influence situations to achieve the central goal. Shared among leaders and followers with everyone engaged. Everybody is pulled together to make sure we have an alignment of purpose so that we can achieve our vision. And that is what leadership is all about. If you are doing something and you don't have the core, the vision of that organization, the vision of the vision of the family, the vision of the nation, we need to understand the concept of leadership. And if we go into the hadith, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says, every one of you is a leader, and you shall be asked about those who you lead. This is reported in Bukhari and Muslims. So it's also indicating that leadership is very important, even in Islam. Whenever three of you are traveling, you should always elect one person as a leader. Abu Dawud reported this. And so the concept of leadership is something that is very important. The question we're going to ask ourselves now is, what are the obligations of leaders? What are the obligations of leaders? People rise to your expectations, so you increase your expectations of your members. Your organization is built upon a common purpose. We have said that. So use it to develop a sense of ownership. Leaders are humble. It is not about the leader. It is about the organization. So the leaders should have the interest of the organization. The most effective leaders create a culture of effective followership. And that takes us to what we call the servant leadership. And we can say, the prophet said, I am just the servant. I am your servant. You're taking me to be the leader, yes, but I am here to serve you. So we really need to understand that leadership has got some things as portfolios. You just have to take this along with you. You must create a culture of effective followership for us to call ourselves leaders in Islam. The first thing, integrity is very important for us as leaders. If you are a leader at whatever level, integrity is very important. Openness. You must be assertive. Leaders must be assertive. Make sure this is the direction, because don't forget, we want to achieve our outcome. And for us to achieve the outcome, you need to have a focus. Leaders must be emotionally stable. And we want honest leaders. For you to be a leader, you must be honest. If you are not honest, if you don't have any of these traits, then you don't term yourself as a leader. Wherever you are, as the head of family, as a member of organization, even the one, and you must be enthusiastic. All these are leadership traits. I don't want to make us academician, but at the same time, we really need to understand that there are a lot of theories relating to leadership. One of it is about the one they call the trait theory, the behavioral theory, and the contingency theory. All these theories are just telling us about personality and qualities of leaders. While trait theory is focusing on personal quality, these are the qualities you should have as leaders. Behavioral is putting its focus on followers, readiness. Behavioral is linking up followers with leaders, whereas contingency considers the environment in which the leaders exist. And for today, these three theories are very much relevant to us. The trait theory, the behavioral theory, and the contingency theory, because you must have the personal qualities which we have identified earlier on. You must be able to focus on followers' readiness. Followers must be ready to work along with you for us to achieve our objective, for us to be able to manage crisis. And then the contingency theory, we need to consider the environment, envisaging crisis. So these three theories embedded as a central point of discussion for today. Now the other one we want to look at is the moral basis of leadership. Leadership in Islam is based on taqwa. On moral basis, a leader must have faith. All the articles of faith must be complete in a leader, which Islam emphasizes. What about taqwa, the fear of Almighty Allah? It's very important as well. We really need to, for us to be good leaders, we have to put the fear of Almighty Allah in our hearts, believing that if nobody sees us, Almighty Allah sees whatever we do, all our actions, all our intentions. This is very important as leaders. Again, leadership is meant to be interactive. It's not just going to be me, it's me, it's me. This is what I want. I don't want to go into all this autocratic, laissez-faire leadership and all this in academics. But what we are saying in simple terms is that a leadership must be interactive. Leaders depend on followers and vice versa. And that is exactly what we expect. So a follower shares an influence relationship among leaders and other followers with the intent to support leaders who reflect their mutual purposes. So followers on the other side, they need to share the influence relationship among leaders. We have been able to look at crisis management. We've been able to look at leadership. Now we're looking at followership. As a follower, if we go into the Quran chapter 4 verse 59, Surah An-Nisa, it's saying, "O ye who believe, obey, and those charged with authority among you." This is it's compulsory for followers to do that. So it's not just in isolation. We need to work together, and that is the role of a follower. Even in the Quran is established. And so the next thing is, what are the characteristics of effective followers? Not just followers, but effective followers. You work towards competency, solutions, and positive impact. You also need to contribute with enthusiasm and support leaders. You need to avoid risk or conflict. This is not the time for us to really discuss about conflict and crisis. Conflict is a subset of crisis. And so crisis is the superset we're discussing at the moment. So you avoid risk or you avoid conflict coming up. You have to encourage to initiate change to serve the best interest of the organization. Our aim is to have our vision accomplished, to have that outcome. We must be able to identify strengths and weaknesses in ourselves as followers. This is very important because we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And what do? Make sure you improve on your weakness so that you can turn your weaknesses to strengths. And so when we're looking at followers, followers must have good sense of judgment. They must be competent. They must be honest as well. They must have courage. They must have work ethics as well. Discretion, loyalty, and ego management. All these are qualities of followers, which is very important for us. And so when we're looking at followers and leaders now, they have some things in common. We have one or two that is not common that a leader will always have to do. Assertiveness is one of it. And so they have a common boundary. What are the obligations of effective followers? Follower must accept responsibility, challenge authority when it is necessary, not as a rebel. Participate in change management. You must be able to serve the need of the organization or your family or whatever level you are. You must be able to leave the organization when necessary. That is when everything is against the Sharia, the injunction of Almighty Allah or the Hadith. And so, having said all this, we have been able to look at crisis management. We've been able to look at leaders, qualities, and followers. Now, what is our expected relationship? Don't forget, our topic is about our roles in managing crisis. Is it the role of the follower, or is it is it meant for the follower to manage crises alone, or is it meant for the leader? In managing crisis, we expect this kind of relationship, and the relationship should be followers and leaders all trying to achieve a central goal, a central vision, alignment of goals, so that we have an outcome that will be achievable. For instance, NASFAT. as an organization, Islamic organization, one will expect the followers to really go on with the leaders. And we will expect the leaders as well to be able to manage situations based on the injunction of the Quran and the Hadith. And then one is not working in isolation. And that's why you have our purpose. You can see my big cycle. The cycle there, the purpose is a very big one. Our purpose is bigger than the leader, it's even bigger than the follower as well. So our essence is to achieve our central aim, which is the vision of the organization, the vision of NOSFAT, the vision of your family, if you are relating it to the family level. And so it is very important. This is what we expect for you to be able to manage crisis. Leaders, followers will have to work together. Now, screen, we have been able to look at leaders, we have been able to look at followers, and then we have the crisis management in between. And so, who manages the crisis? It is the responsibility of both followers and leaders to manage the crisis for us to have an effective crisis management. And don't forget that crisis management is, we said, has got 4 phases. We said crises have got phases. And the first one is detection. I said we're coming back to it. You need to detect, preparation. You need to prepare for it. Then when a crisis actually comes, you need to contain it or it will damage the reputation of the organization. And finally, recovery. And that is it. So having said this, what conclusively, because of our time, conclusively, we can say that an effective followership is a building block. Effective followership is an excellent, not good. You don't expect magic from the leaders. If the leaders are not good, you don't expect magic from the followers. We need to work hand in hand, both the followers and the leaders. In any organization, develop effective followers. The leaders are meant to mentor the followers. Just as effective followers develop better leaders. The performance of followers, leaders, and the organization are variables that depend on one another. So we must work hand in hand. And finally, conclusively, we are saying that you cannot work in isolation and say, because I am the leader, this is what we want. That is autocratic. And we don't want to go into all those now. So in any organization, leaders can help develop effective followers, just as effective followers develop better leaders. The performance of followers, leaders, and the organizations are variables, and we all depend on one another. Thank you very much for this. And if there is any question, because of our time, I'll make sure I work within the time of 30 minutes, and that is it.
Jazakallah, Dr. Ladapot. Thank you very much for this brilliant piece. And I'm sure that our viewers and listeners from across the globe would have gained something much more important from this. We expect questions from viewers, but I understand what we have learned here. For benefit of our viewers, you have explained to us that the inevitability of crisis, okay, and that if we fail to plan, we will be left with management, and therefore it would look like planning against crisis is a better way. But should we find ourselves in management stage, which, as you put it, is reactive, then we must devolve quickly to early detection. And you know what, Dr. Arabo, that resonates with what is being said about COVID-19, the early detection, uh, testing and tracing, um, so that we prepare and prevent. And that enables us to quickly go into the containment stage, the containment mode, so that our recovery can be smoother, shorter, and our lessons learned can be very crystal clear. And then we can look at all of those, and then you discuss all of those theories. Um, and what is key is that most of us leaders and followers sometimes ignore the environment, uh, which is uh, explained by the contingency theory. We've got one question for you, sir.
Yes.
Is that how do we plan ahead of crisis so that we do not collapse or fall into it once crisis raises ugly heads?
Yes. I said earlier on that we have three phases. And the first one is the pre-crisis, the main stage, which is the crisis stage, and the third stage is post-crisis. So if you want to plan, then you need to put your effort on the first stage, which is the pre-crisis. But if you are now managing your crisis, then you go into the third stage, which is the post-crisis, because it is already established. And so for you to plan, you have said it earlier on, you need to dictate. Is a matter, we have said it is inevitable, whether you want it or not. So you must be able to forecast. And in the course of my lecture, I said, what is the worst thing that can happen to you? Think about it, apart from death. What is the worst thing that can happen to you as an organization? What is the worst thing that can happen to you as an individual? Think about it. If you can identify that, then you can do a very good planning.
That's clear. I hope that is also clear to the questioner. So planning, planning. Even you need to plan for the detection. If you be in this program and you have a question, you can send us a text. We will pick it, or a chat for those who have seen one or two hands up here on WhatsApp. The way we run is that all questions come into the studio, and then we moderate them so that uh, the channel is not clogged. So that explains it. Jazakallah. I can see a few questions being typed, but while we wait for that, uh, you also raised the issue of Iman and Taqwa uh, as ingredients in crisis management. Um, More often when crisis occurs, we simply devote to our beings, and then it takes the grace of God for leaders and followers to bring these two key attributes in, even if they have it. Even if they have it. When crisis occurs, people go into panic mode and all of those things. What is that signal? What is the sign to watch out for to say, hold it, break, uh, taqwa, iman? Dr. Rapo.
Yes, you see, situations where we find ourselves as leaders, you want to put some ego at times. You want to assert some ego at times. You want to say, yes, I am the leader. And when you are doing that, it's just a verge between 0 and 10. If you are moving above that medium, which is 5, you are asserting some authority. You are moving, you are deviating away from what Almighty Allah says in the Quran or the Hadith. When that situation happens, you should check yourself and see that, am I walking in line with what the Quran says? Then we need to go back and find out what is Iman. Iman is for us to believe in Almighty Allah, oneness of Allah. When we don't have to put some other things behind and say, yes, Allah is there, but I can do this as the leader. So you really need to watch out. And when you are doing that, you want to show that we call it hadkar, which is awareness. You must be able, you must have desire that this is for the sake of Almighty Allah. And then you must have knowledge. Knowledge is very, very important. You cannot avoid that. And finally, when it comes to taqwa, when you get to a level that you see that your behavior is deviating, your action is deviating from what the Quran says, then you must query your integrity. And at that point in time, taqwa is questionable. You want to find out, am I doing this? Because we have said earlier on that for a leader, integrity is important. Integrity, taqwa, openness, taqwa, assertiveness, taqwa entails you doing the right thing at the right time. If all these are, if these are absent within or among, then us think that you are deviating from. You must
Jazakallah Rasa. Jazakallah, Dr. Abawe. Thank you for sharing knowledge with us. If you can still hear me, we have one question before we invite our Chief Missioner to say a word of dua for you. And that question is that what is the best solution? What is the best solution to crisis management in an organization? If the focus of what we're looking at is about individuals, we're saying in an organization, what is the best, your recommended solution to crisis management? Did you get that, sir, Dr. Apple?
No.
Okay.
It's breaking. I couldn't hear that very well.
Now, okay, that's fine. I think we have a full restoration of your services now. There's this question which focuses on an organization. So it's saying, what are the best solution or steps to take to manage crisis in an organization?
To manage crisis in an organization, we really need to understand that if you want to manage crisis, it means you are in the third stage. So it's more or less reactive rather than proactive. And so you are looking at reactive measure. And in management, for you to cope with reactive measures, you need to go through, first of all, understanding what is the problem. That is your awareness. You must be able to desire to have a change. How do we manage that? If the members, if the leaders are not desiring to have that change, then the outcome will not come. There must be awareness. There must be desire for us to make a change. Then we must be knowledgeable enough by identifying the crisis and then coming up with knowledge, coming up with good information. You can see what is happening with COVID at the moment. Knowledge is very important. And after that level, you go on to what we call the action level. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well, very well. We can hear that. Well, I'm sure that I found this very beneficial, and I hope our viewers and learners also have. So we appreciate what you have done for us today, and we pray that Allah will bless you. I'm going to request our chief missioner to make a special dua for you. And let me put you on notice. More often, CM will also ask you to pray for us. Bismillah, CM.
صلوا على النبي الكريم
صلى الله
عليه وسلم.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وسلم. Dr. Oladapo, on behalf of National Life Party, I want to thank you once again. You have been one of our resource persons in National Life Party. You were together in Milton Keynes about 3 years ago.
Correct.
When we organized the Dawah training program of our missionaries in the UK, and you performed brilliantly. You have done the same thing today. Only Allah can reward you. Even at short notice, you always hearken to our call. Whenever you call Allah, Allah will answer your call.
Amen. Allah.
May Allah continue to be with you. May Allah continue to be with you. May Allah continue to enrich you in knowledge. May Allah take care of your family. May Allah take care of all your affairs. You are serving us with Allah for the sake of Allah. You are doing that for the sake of Allah. May Allah reward you abundantly. You have nothing to offer you, nothing to give you. You are not doing it for monetary sake. You are not doing for anything. You are serving Allah to us. May Allah consider it a talaka to carry for you. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. As the brother observed, we always ask our guests to pray for us. To pray for us. This is the passing period, and none of us are in the mood that whenever we call on Allah now, we answer us quickly. Dr. Oladapo, please pray for us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We're just going to do the Rabbana, and that is Rabbana atina fi dunya hasanata wa fil akhirati hasanata wa qina azabannar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamu ala
Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Jazakumullahu khairan kathira. Jazakumullahu khairan. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Jazakallah, CM, thank you very much. And Dr. Moshood Oladapo, thank you very much. Allah would answer all of our prayers and will bless your household. Thank you for coming. Next time we will be here, and I'm sure our viewers have enjoyed it. My dear brothers and sisters, we will be taking the next paper, inshallah. And our guest speaker is already in the house. It's my pleasure to introduce and welcome to this program our Imam an accomplished scholar, and I'm proud to say he is also a NASFAT member. Today, this afternoon, the topic for the second speaker is Islam and the act of giving. And as I did say at the start of this program, this is the program where this is the period when we all give generously. Even those who haven't asked us, we want to give them because it's Ramadan. And especially in the last 10 days of Ramadan, we keep giving because we trust Allah, we believe in Allah, and that we know that it will replenish our pockets. So what happens after Ramadan? Today, our guest speaker, an accomplished academic, an imam, will talk to us about the topic Islam and act of giving. Our guest speaker this evening is Dr. Dawood Oniide. Dr. Oniide is a researcher and Islamic cleric. He holds a PhD in Arabic language. He joined the academic team of Lagos State University in the Department of Foreign Languages in November 2007 as an assistant, as a graduate assistant. Dr. Oniide is a member of NASFAT and is also a member of the Nigeria Association of Teachers of Arabic and Islamic Studies. Our guest speaker this evening is a member of the Academic Society of Arabic Language and Literature. He is, like I said, one of us in NASFAT, but more distinguishingly, he is a missionary and have served and continue to serve in various committees, giving the best of his knowledge and wisdom and service and time to Allah through NASFAT. Dr. Oniide served as a member of the As-Salatu Prayer Book Review Committee. He was in the National Shura Committee. He served in the NASFAT 21st Anniversary Planning Committee. He was in the NASFAT UNICEF Campaign Committee for Ending Violence Against Children. He is a member and chairman of the Technical Committee for the Board of Directors of NASFAT Agency for Zakat and Sadaqah, Nazars. He is in the Directorate of Dawah of our National Mission Board. He's founder and coordinator of the Quranic Group Study at Al-Hausa, Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria. And I can continue on and on talking about this scholar, this imam, this teacher, this professor, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, I welcome Dr. Dawood Oniide to talk to us about Islam and the act of giving. Bismillah. Bismillah, doctor, we can see you.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين أونك يا مهين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه ومن تبع سنته إلى يوم الدين. In the name of Almighty Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praises and adoration are due to Him, the Lord of majesty and the Lord of honor. We invoke the grace and blessing of Allah upon the chosen prophet, his household, companions, and those who follow his right path till the day of judgment. Brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The topic of our discussion at this moment is Islam and act of giving. This is where we are going to shed more light on the concept of spending and giving in the cause of the Almighty Allah. I want to start this lecture with this allusion. Some people may agree with me that life doesn't give equal opportunity to people. It gives and it takes. It gives some people abundance of life. They have more than what they need. They enjoy themselves. They are moving from one place to another place. They were eating what they want at whenever they want it. They are moving from one country to another country. But some people are living in agony. They are begging for what they live, what they eat. They don't have anything. The life denied them the basic necessary of life, like food, shelter, clothing. To extend, they think of committing crime and at times committing suicide. If that's what we are living with in our society, and we are witnessing it on a daily basis, it's now the responsibility of every individual and the society at large, particularly those who have enough, to think about those people so that they also can live in normal life, so that they can have and enjoy what other people are enjoying. And at the same time, it's now a responsibility of society as well to provide the social amenities for those people. In Islam, because of those people, Islam has already established the institution of charity, that is to provide for those who are less privileged in our society, in order to ease the economic leadership of the poor and create mutual respect and love and peaceful coexistence between the rich and the poor in the society, and also to assist those people to become productive member of the society. Act of giving in Islam, the terminology for it is zadaqah, and the zadaqah means voluntary offering, which is the way of giving whatever Almighty Allah endows some people and to give other people. At times, in times of money, valuable items, giving advice, or sharing experience with other people. Charity is so important in Islam, and it is pride of faith. It is proof of faith. The more we give, the more we receive from the Almighty Allah. In a hadith that was quoted by Abi Hurairah, he said, the Prophet ﷺ said, every day 2 angels come down from heaven, and one of them says, "Oh Allah, compensate those who spend in the cause of Allah and destroy the wealth of those who refuse to spend for Allah." As a result of that, giving charity in any kind of form is very, very important in Islam. It enables us to have more, and enable us to seek to get the reward from the Almighty Allah. In the Quran, we have different passages of the Quran that encourages us to do good. For instance, Quran chapter 61, verse 10, Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu hal adullukum ala tijaratin tunjikum min adhabil alim tu'minuna billahi wa rasulihi wa tujahiduna fi sabilillahi bi amwalikum wa anfusikum zalika khairu lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. O you who believe, shall I direct you to a commerce that will deliver you from torment, punishment? Have faith in Allah and His messenger, and strive in the way of Allah with your possession, that is, with your wealth and your life. That's better for you if you know. Allah says, I don't, in another part of the Quran, Lan tanalu al-birra hatta tunfiqu mimma tuhibbun. You shall not attain righteousness until you spend what you love most. In another verse, he says, Ibtegu bima ataqallahu dar al-akhirah. Seek and abode in the Jannah from what we gave you. In Sabura, Allah says, Al-malu mali, the wealth, your property is my property. Wa jannatu jannati, and my paradise, my paradise is mine. Washtaru jannati bimali, with whatever I gave you as your wealth, as your property. Ishtara, buy my paradise with what I gave you. Based on those hadiths and Quranic quotation, one should see that giving sadaqah, with any forms, is very, very important and necessary in Islam. In Islam, one of the major ways of giving sadaqah is zakat. Zakat and sadaqah has the same meaning, which is zakat is one pillar of Islam. It has been discussed here. There's no need for us to repeat in everything. But zakat is very important in Islam. It's one of pillars of Islam, based on a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to have said, "Buniya al-Islam ala khamsin, shahadatu an la ilaha illallah." That Islam has been built on 5 pillars. Number 1, have faith in Allah and believe in the Messenger, observing regular prayer, paying zakat, then fasting in the month of Ramadan. The last one is going for Hajj. This hadith is now telling us that zakat is very, very important in Islam. Denying zakat or neglecting paying zakat is more or less like someone neglecting prayer. That is why Abu Bakr waged war against those who refuse to pay zakat in his life. Allah mentions zakat in the Quran more than 30 places, and he combined 27 of it with salat. Whenever our money reaches nizar, we need to pay zakat from it. The current nizar for paying zakat today is 1.3. Apart from that, we also have zakat al-fitr during the month of Ramadan, particularly toward the tail of Ramadan. Everyone needs to pay zakat al-fitr for the needy. The zakat al-fitr must be done particularly before the day of Eid. And if someone cannot do it that very day of Eid, it must be done. It can be monetized, or you can give it a commodity like that. The equivalent money for monetizing of zakat today is 750 naira. Everybody must do it individually and collectively, particularly for the whole family. It must be done. Then another area of zakat, another area of sadaqah is endowment, which is called al-waqf. This is where someone dedicates part of his property for the cause of Allah, and whatever they realize from it will be spent on different areas. It can be spent on scholarship, it can be spent on building a school or hospital. In Islamic country, there's a lot of endowment which they are using it to run their university, particularly in Egypt, as they are a university. Sadaqatul Jariyah, endowment, is interpretation of Sadaqatul Jariyah, which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged the Muslims to do. The Prophet said, "It's a motabunu Adam." Whenever a son of Adam dies, all his property, all his action, all his deed come to an end, except 3 things. Number 1, Sadaqatul Jariyah. It continues sadaqah, which reward will be given to him to the eternity. Number 2 is knowledge that that person established when he was alive. Whenever people benefit from that knowledge, the reward will be given to that person. Number 3 is waladin soli, son that praying for him. Whenever they are praying for him, that reward will be given to him as well. That is kind of sadaqah that Islam encourages Muslims to do it. There are, from hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Quran, there are other means of sadaqah that Muslims can engage on it. Number 1, all the tasbihat, all the glorification that we normally give to Allah is a means of sadaqah. Avoiding what is wrong and advise people to do what is right is also a sadaqah. To say what is good, to encourage people, it is a sadaqah. To remove an harmful material from the road, it is a means of sadaqah. To advise someone, to give someone advice which can enable him or assist him to attain his desire, It's also a sadaqah from the Almighty Allah. By doing all this, Allah, the person that's doing it will be rewarded by the Almighty Allah. Then we need to ask ourselves, what are the benefits of doing sadaqah? When we say there's a lot of sadaqah, zakat al-fitri, endowment, and other forms of sadaqah, there must be a reward from it. We have spiritual reward, and at the same time, we have social reward from it. One of the spiritual reward, it prevents someone from all sorts of calamity. Zakat block evil for people. Zakat or sadaqah enables someone to get the pleasure from the Almighty Allah. Giving sadaqah, whatever means, we give that person a shade in the day of judgment when there's no shade over anybody. Zakat or sadaqah also increase wealth. In the Quran, Allah says, مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم. The example of those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah is like those of grain of corn that grows 7 years. And every year there's 100 grain. The Allah multiply the action of whoever he wishes. Allah says in the Quran, also, وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ تَجِدُوا عِندَ اللَّهِ. Whatever you put forward before the Almighty Allah in any kind of sadaqah, you shall meet it with Allah. Allah will reserve it for you. In the day of judgment, you get the reward from the Almighty Allah. They also at the hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that encourages Muslims to do sadaqah as well. The Prophet reported to have said, "Man nafasa an mu'mini qurbatan, nafasahu Allahu qurbatan min qurbi yawm al-qiyamah. Wa man yasara ala mu'sirin, yasarahu Allahu fi dunya wal akhirah. Wa man satara musliman, satarahu Allahu fi dunya wal akhirah. Wallahu fi auni al-abd, ma dama al-abdu fi auni akhihi." Whoever relieves the hardship of believer in this world, Allah will relieve his hardship on the day of judgment. Whoever make easy what is difficult, Allah will easy his affair from him in this world and hereafter. He who conceals the fault of Muslim, Allah conceal his fault. Allah help the servant so long as the help his brother. That is, whenever we help our brother to get their desire, to get what they need, the more Allah will send help, the more Allah will assist the person who do sadaqah. When we want to do sadaqah, and we have been doing it, there is also a condition, the guiding sadaqah, that Muslim must be followed. Number 1, sadaqah must be for seeking of pleasure from the Almighty Allah. It's not for someone to praise us. When you do sadaqah, believe that you have done it for Allah, and you don't need anybody to praise you, to acknowledge you. What you have done is for the Almighty Allah. As we are praying, as we are engaged on fasting, and we didn't expect anybody to say thank you, that's the way we must also do our sadaqah. Give out whatever you can give, and don't expect anybody to say thank you to you. The more you expecting thank you from other people or acknowledgement, the more it will decrease the reward from the Almighty Allah. Remember that we should do whatever we wanted to do for people, the more Allah doing for us. That's why the Quran says, Asin, kama hasanallahu ilayka, do good to people the way Allah do good to you. Whatever you give us, people may acknowledge it, people may realize it, people may greet you. If they refuse to greet you, believe that you have done it for Allah. It is only Allah that will reward you. Another condition is our charity, to say it. That's what the Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina la tablu sadaqatakum bil mann. Don't destroy your charity. Don't destroy your act of giving that you have done for some people with other by follow it with what is wrong. Which means whatever we do as good must continue like that. We must not try to spoil our sadaqah bilimanna wal asa by let people see you and be praising you. You are giving us something and you are now telling your people, you are telling your friend, look at that man. I'm the one who gave him that trouser. I'm the one who gave him so. It is not allowed. For you to have full reward, you must preserve, you must concede your reward to the Almighty Allah and whatever you have done so far. Then thirdly, don't delay sadaqah. Whatever you wish to do it immediately. The Prophet ﷺ was reported to have said, when the companion asked him, are you sadaqatun a'zamu ajran? Which of the sadaqah that is best? The Prophet now told them, you do that sadaqah. Wa anta shakhihun, when you don't have enough. Wa anta bakhilun, you also need help from other people. Do sadaqah by them. Don't delay it until when you are about to die. You now say, give this property to so people. The Prophet now said, either you give it out or not. At that particular time, when you are about to die, it's already belong to those people. It's now better for you to do it when it is necessary. It's better for us to do it when it is good, so that we can get full reward from the Almighty Allah. Particularly in this month of Ramadan, there's a lot of way for us to engage in sadaqah. Giving the sa'im, somebody that fasts, give him something to break his fast is a means of sadaqah. Saying what is good is a means of sadaqah. Removing what is bad, what can harm someone else from the road is a means of sadaqah. By that, the period that we are living with our parents, with our children, with our family at home, is also a means of sadaqah. The Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in another hadith, when he told the companion that all of you must try as much as possible to do sadaqah in a day. The companion now asked the Prophet, what of we don't have what we can use as a sadaqah? The Prophet now gave them another option, that whatever you are doing, which is good, is also a sadaqah for you. That is the kind of sadaqah that we must engage on it. Not everything necessary to be money. Whatever advice, whatever sharing of experience that you can give to other people so that they can benefit them is also a part of sadaqah. By doing this, our society will be okay. By doing this, which means we are releasing, we are providing, we are releasing those who are in hardship, we are releasing them. They also need to be enjoying themselves. Those are the ways and the benefits of doing sadaqah. Next part, I've done a lot in area of sadaqah and zakat. We have next part again for zakat and sadaqah, where people can channel or where people can divide their sadaqah on zakat. So they will manage it quite well. Nasas, we have realized more than 300 million and has been distributed for less privileged people. We have empowered a lot of people. There's a lot of people on our scholarship scale. We have health scheme for imams, both in Nesfat and outside the Nesfat. A lot of people on salary, on salary stipend every month. The same thing also, when we want to do sadaqah, we can also direct it to NASA. They will do it for you. They will distribute it the way Allah will places you. Then at the same time, we have charity box. Whatever used item, fairly used item that's still okay for you, you can bring it to NASA. We have charity box. You can drop it there. They will distribute it so that you can get your reward in this world and hereafter. Also, NASA is also doing endowment. I've mentioned endowment before. That is a charity, it's a continuous charity. We have a lot of property. We inherited a lot of property from our parents. We can dedicate part of it as an endowment so that whatever they realize from it can be spent on various ways. It can be spent on scholarship. It can be spent on building school or hospital. That is sadaqah jariyah. That reward will be given to us. We will earn that reward till the day of Qiyamah. NESFA also has NESFA Relief Initiative. That is where we are providing also for those who need assistance, particularly in this period of COVID-19. We NESFA try a lot. We distributed a lot of materials, food and other material to relieve those who are in need, because not everybody, as I said earlier on, the life doesn't provide equal opportunity for everybody. Some they have in abundance, they have more than what they need. They enjoy from the beginning to the end. They move from one place to another place. They are eating what they want to eat. There's some people they cannot afford it. They cannot eat at least 2 square meals in a day. But if they can eat, they can also destroy. But it is now responsibility. It is our right to stand, to assist, and to bring joy, and to let other people feel the way also we are feel. It is the sign of the Almighty Allah that some people will be okay, while some people will depend on those who are okay. But if we find ourselves in that position, if we are okay today, don't let us remember that it is Allah that provided for us. It's not by our means, it's not by our ability, it's not by our intelligence, it's not by our knowledge, but it is means of the Almighty Allah. It's also in line with the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Prophet said, "La tanzuru ila ma huwa fawqakum." Don't ever look at those who are before you. Bal fanzuru ila ma huwa asfala minkum. But try to look back at those who are stronger than you, who have qualification than you, but today they are still begging for the livelihood. If you are in that position that we have everything, we are enjoying everything, what we can do to show appreciation to Allah is to remember others, is to give others, is to let other people enjoy the way we are enjoying. We are living in a house that we want. We are eating whatever we want. We are moving all the place. All our family members who are enjoying the same thing. We should remember those who are sleeping under bridge, those who are not eating. We should also do this thing. If we are doing it, our society will be okay. Our society will move forward. Poverty will be eradicated in our society. Let us try to do good, particularly, as I said around, particularly in this month of Ramadan. There is a lot of ways to doing sadaqah. Sadaqah to Jariyah is there. Zakat al Fitr is there. Some people also paying the zakat, which is obligatory zakat, particularly in the month of Ramadan. It is once in a year, but if we can do it this month of Ramadan, it's much more rewardable from the Almighty Allah. Because the Prophet said, whatever good deeds that we try to do in this month of Ramadan, we are going to get double reward of it. With the little days that we still have to end this month of Ramadan, it is not too late for us. Let us try to do what is good, to avoid what is wrong in our society. By doing that, there will be a peace and peaceful coexistence and love between the rich and the poor. We beseech the Almighty Allah to accept all our activities and as an act of ibadah. Whatever we have done as a sin, we beseech Allah to forgive our sin and accept all our deeds as an act of ibadah, to give us the best in this world and the best in hereafter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah, Doctor.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Are you on?
Oh, sorry. Alhamdulillah. I think I got unmuted. Jazakallah, Doctor. Thank you for the brilliant presentation. And I was just saying there, not knowing that I didn't have audio, that NASFAT exemplified this paper of yours, especially at this trying time of COVID. At the last count, NASFAT, through the coordination of our global leadership, has expended over 60 million naira in Nigeria and across all of the places where we have NASFAT. In our 22 zones, which administer 344 branches. At the last count, I have a record here saying, as at the time NASFAT is expended, had given out 43.1 million naira. That had reached 15,060 households through 97,893 beneficiaries in 28 locations, 6 countries, in Nigeria, 15 states, and 19 out of our 22 zones where NASFAT is. And that includes those of us in the United Kingdom. And after these statistics that I've just shared with our viewers, all of our branches, all of our zones continue to reach out to those who have less in our community, in our society, in the Muslim world, and the larger society, to ensure that nobody is left out. And that is a wonderful, wonderful demonstration of the act of giving. Because, and I find solace, even though we have ideas, but Dr. Nides explained this further to us, that whoever relieves the hardship of others, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will relieve your hardship. He will meet us at our point of need. Whoever conceals the fault of others, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will conceal our fault, and it will be pleased with us. So while I await questions from our viewers for the guest speaker to take, I just want to say that please let your questions come. I've got one for the guest speaker. Dr. Nide, this viewer wants to know, is zakat payable from an household? Sorry, is zakat payable from an unsold landed property? You're still muted, sir. You're still muted. You are muted. If you can hear us, we cannot hear you. You need to unmute. Can the host please unmute? You're muted again. Bismillah. Can the technical team please unmute Dr. Nide, please? We can see you. You do not have audio yet. Bismillah.
Hello?
Bismillah.
Yeah. Zakat cannot be paid on land property that we have not been sold until when it has been sold and we know what we realize from it. Islam is not, that one is not allowed in zakat. Zakat based on what has been sold, what we have, either cash or any material, any property that you are using for rent or for trade. But on land that had not been sold, it's not zakatable until when it has been sold. It's more or less like somebody who has money at pension scheme. Your pension scheme, whatever you have at your pension, it has not zakatable until when you have access to it. The land that you have, someone promised that you will buy it 4 million or 2 million, you have targeted or you have budgeted what you are going to pay on zakat on it. It's not halal until when it is being sold.
Thank you very much. So, yeah. Any other question? So as I was saying, I've got an updated data that says NASFAT is disbursed 57.7 million in cash and food items. And this was achieved within 47 days. And this excludes what is gone to government states to support palliative measures. And wonderfully well, in this Ramadan, NASFAT is out there saying on Eid day, nobody who has fasted must remain hungry. And I think the target is to feed thousands and thousands of Muslims on Eid day. So this are basic demonstration of the act of giving. And now, brothers and sisters, we've been enjoying to do our zakat al-fitr, and for those of us who have assets, that we can approach organizations, reputable bodies such as Nazars, to put our givings for them to administer. If you're out there listening to this program, or if you come by this video in the near future, and you are blessed by Allah, that blessing, as a brother put it, if you have been blessed by Allah to bless others, then it's an obligation on you to please bless others. And you're busy, you want to go and make more money, and you don't want to lose the reward of associated with giving. Approach bodies such as Nazars. Talk to any NASFAT branch. They would link you up with Nazars. That's NASFAT agency for zakat and for sadaqah, zakat and sadaqah, and they would administer your treasure and give it to the needy for and on your behalf, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward, will not deny you of the reward at the best of times. Dr. Nide, we're waiting for one or two more questions, which will enable you to further explain what we have. But while we do that, I'm going to put our Chief Missioner on standby, because this which you have done today is an act of giving. You have shared that knowledge which Allah has given to you with us and with our viewers. And a lot more people have become more aware of the fact that doing good deeds is an act of giving. Concealing the fault of others is an act of giving. And that whatever we do, we must do with the fear of Allah. And that's the one some people in this part of the world, in United, they lie. They put a path before you. And you say what? They say they lie. They lie wa Rasuli. Just give because of Allah. It's me who is begging, but just give because of Allah. They lie. And I can connect to that. So, alhamdulillah, we're coming to the end of yet another day of presentation. Tomorrow will be another day. But before we go, like I said, I'm going to invite our Chief Missioner, Sheikh Abdulaziz Onike, to say a word of dua for Dr. Onide, who is one of your own.
We thank our elder scholar for that beautiful presentation. May Allah continue to preserve him for Islam. May Allah continue to enrich him in knowledge. May Allah continue to be with him.
Amen.
He will pray for us too, because that's our tradition on this platform. Every invited lecturer is expected to pray for the audience and for the team that is handling this program. As an addendum, one of the things that work against our act of giving is Satan. The devil threatens us with poverty. When Satan threatens poverty, if you spend that money, how will you survive tomorrow? Forgetting the fact that Allah wants you to give the money to somebody else for you to have a reward. Allah is capable of feeding that person himself. Allah is capable of taking care of that person himself. As somebody that said, and I want it to be one of our taking points, it is not really about the money, it's about the act. The act of giving depends on your act. If you have little, if you cultivate the act of giving out, you will give out of that little. And when you give, researchers have shown that there's a connectivity between happiness and the act of giving. The matter that makes it easy for all of us. As an addendum to the question of zakat on land, if the intention is to resell the land very soon, you pay this zakat on the foreign part of that land. If the intention is to sell the land very soon, if the intention is not to sell it very soon, you are buying it for people for a long time. You are not to sell. You are not to pay zakat on it. Another addendum to that is that if you buy land and you want to sell, you have paid part of the money to the landowner that you are buying from. The amount that you have paid, you pay zakat on it. If you have paid 40%, you pay zakat on that 40%. May Allah forgive the people of us. Allah man kamana do I. Awatana bi jabati. Wakadauna kama matana. Fajmina kama watana. Ya Rabb jalali wal ikrami. Innaka la tukhlifu al-mi'ad. Allah man qul tawakkalu al-aqu. Udiyuni astajib lakum. Allah ma tadua wa minka al-ijaba. Wa tadjidu minna wa laka tutlan. Wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Our scholar, our researcher, our missioner, that is the head of the directorate of Dawah. Next mission. They have been with the mission for almost right from the inception of natural life in the party. May Allah forgive to do with him, one of our pride. May Allah strengthen him and increase him in taqwa. Dr. Dawud, we pray for us too. Because this is the time I want to break our fast. Allah, Talata to Lata will do Dawah to him. That three set of people that Allah will not reject their prayers. One of them is somebody who's fasting. Whenever he prays for you, Allah will answer the prayer. Dr. Dawud ready to pray for us. Is he in the house?
It's there, but he hasn't got audio.
Okay.
Good. Similar. Again. No audio again.
Amen.
Bismillah. Bismillah. Well, he hasn't got audio. We can see him. The audio is playing up. Can tag team help us unmute him permanently?
I trying to do that. Our noble Prophet reminds us again. The man of Kasamadu in Sodaka. Wala sadallahu abidan bi afwani illa izza. Wa man tawaddaha lillahi wa fa'ahullah. Prophet says that giving, the act of giving, sadaqah can never diminish your provision, your wealth. Sadaqah can never diminish wealth. He also said that nobody will have the act of forgiveness except that Allah will continue to honor you. Number 3, it says, whoever humbles himself for Allah's sake, Allah will always elevate you. The key point here is that the fear that we have that if we give sadaqah, our provision will get diminished, our wealth will get diminished. Prophet said, man min sadaqah. Sadaqah, charity will never diminish our wealth. We should have the culture of giving, and when you give, you have happiness within yourself. Only Allah knows the reason behind the connectivity between the act of giving and happiness. It has been proved with so many research results that when you give, you feel happy. When you give, you feel that you are fulfilling one of the obligations of your religion. When you give, you feel honored that Allah has not placed you in the position of the taker. You are the one giving and somebody is collecting. May Allah make us imbibe the culture of giving. May Allah provide us with the provision that we need to give. May Allah save us from Satan, who threatens people with property, whatever they want to give. May Allah be with all of us. May Allah continue to grow this life party. May Allah assist us in all our endeavors. Tomorrow is another day. We are going to have our tafsir. We are going to recite to the Kafir sister. Join us. May Allah spare our life. Bismillah Rahman Rahim. We pray for the moderator, Brother Dapayola, all the way from Manchester. You are sparing your time. You are using your resources to work for Allah. May Allah not deny you the reward. You are a friend to life party. You are one of the members that we know that when they are waking up in their sleep, that there is necessary activity to be done, to be carried out. They will do it wholeheartedly. May Allah continue to be with you. May Allah continue to reward you. And all the technical team who have been working tirelessly to ensure that we are here in the last 10 days of Ramadan. May Allah continue to strengthen all of them. We pray for the entire members of National Liberty, wherever they are located. May Allah relieve them of their body. Allahumma azal dua, wa minka al-ijaba, wa azal judu minna, wa alika tuklanu, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. La tadallana mimma qawmina jadama illa kafarika, wa la amman illa farajka, wa la dayna illa fadayka, wa la marida illa shafika, wa la mayyita illa rawika, wa la duwa illa qatalka, wa la sirra illa sirka, wa la aiban illa satarka, wa la aqwan illa tarayta, wa la awlada illa aslata, wa la mayyita illa rawika, ولا مريدا الا سبيته ولا ايضا من هوائج الدنيا ولا رجل فردا الا قضيتها برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين صلوا على النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Jazakallah CM, and thank you, brothers and sisters at home, wherever you are. May the peace and blessings of Allah continue to be with the most noble of His Prophet. Tomorrow is another day. Dr. Dawood, another Dawood will be in the house. Please tune in, same time, 5 o'clock, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.